Let me try to put this one down so people can see what I'm doing. Okay, let me see if I have another darker blue real quick. Mercy, thank you for joining our live. We are getting everything situated as we speak. So, first and foremost, we have the dice box that we have getting ready to get demolded. It's got probably about another 30-40 minutes left on that. And then we have a set of dice that, same thing, they probably got about 30-40 minutes before I can demold these. So they are feeling a little bit squishy. But sometimes those squishy ones are good because you can actually start to kind of mold the faces, see where any defects might come from. Like right there, I see one where it might come from. Might be a little chip. So, first and foremost, I'm going to get my resin out of its hot bath. So what we're going to do today is we are going to make a double pour. Similar to a dirty pour, but with a dirty pour, you're using inks, you're using different techniques of resin pouring. Whereas with this, we're still doing a different technique of resin pouring, but we're going to be utilizing two batches of resin at one time. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to pour both in right now so that both can have their entire resin ready to go. And now I'm just going to mix my hardener in with that. And we're also going to do some simple inking as well. So we gave it a water bath to make it easier to do the pouring. Yep, right there. Okay. Quinn, thank you for joining us. Boss Lady, Who's Dodge, thank you for joining everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are just getting ready. So I'm just going to mix this up real quick. And like I said, we're going to be doing two different pours at the same time. We're going to be doing a silver gray and a sky blue. This is our darkest blue and our darkest silver that we have being mixed together. Noah, thank you for joining us. So, the reason we did the bath of water was to try to eliminate as much bubbles as we can. We don't have a pressure pot. You don't need a pressure pot to make dyes. If you want to make it easier on yourself, invest in a pressure pot. I, however, do not have the money to drop $100 right out the get-go of dice making for a pressure pot. Everything you see here was achieved with $50 off Amazon. Now, eventually, I do want to get a pressure pot. I think that they're a great investment, and that anybody that is wanting to get into dice making definitely needs one. Because the faster you have a die, the faster you have a pressure pot, the better off your dice are going to be. Danielle, Monster, thank you for joining us. Brittany, thank you for joining. So I'm just doing this to try and prevent as much bubbles as we can. We're obviously going to use our air gun to get rid of quite a few as well. But I want to make sure that there's no streaks, that this was all mixed properly before I move on to the next one. Stormy, thank you for joining us. Lord, thank you for joining us. We are just simply making some dice right now. So if you do decide to get it off Amazon and you get the Prokkuv, Prokkuv 2-in-1 epoxy resin and hardener, I recommend it because that's what I got. And it makes good dice. The one thing I will say is that the actual quoted price on their Amazon, I would not go off of. Gabe, thank you for joining us. Their website says that it will be hard within 8 hours. I've left these dice. Now, these dice right here, the reason these might not be hard all the way is I might have mixed them incorrectly. That's on me. That's not on the dice. All the other dice had turned out phenomenal. And there could have also been that there was some mold release still on the mold when I made those. Those were my first set. However, if you are going to demold one of the open face molds with this resin, what I recommend you doing specifically is waiting another 4 to 6 hours. I've done it at 12 hours and it's still been flimsy at times. I've done it at what did I do it at? I did it at it's my tongue. Oh, I've done it at 24 hours. And it was still a little bit flimsy. Karen, John, or Jean, thank you for joining us. Jane, thank you for joining. So the reason why I recommend this, not only because of the mixing life, but also for the simple fact that with that mixing speed, it gives you a little bit more time to think stuff through. We're going to be utilizing this mold right here. Now, this is one we have not used yet, so I'm a little hesitant. It says it's 7 ounces. So I've mixed up enough resin to do the dice for this mold and the dice box for this one. Right now it's just trying to get them all in the right place to keep them tied. Rose, thanks for joining us. If you guys are new to the channel and you see me look over here, that's just me looking at our YouTube that's up and running, just to make sure that nothing's going weird over there. I'm going to shut this closet real quick because that's a little bit distracting to me. And if you guys hear Little Scarecrow in the background, I do apologize. He's playing at this time. He's just a little kid that loves to play. Mama Scarecrow has him right now. Moon, thank you for joining us. So what I'm doing is I'm holding this real quick while I wait for this to degas. Because I'm going to take some of those air bubbles out of it. Okay. Now, I recommend doing that in a well-ventilated area. We're going to have to do it again later. Once we get done with mixing these up. The Immortal, thank you for joining us. Todd, thank you for joining us. Okay. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to mix this blue up. I'm going to see how I like that. Because we might add some more blue. I actually like that blue. But I think we're going to do what we did with that red for the last one. Dream, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today? We're going to add a little bit of carbon black to both of these. And I'll show you why here in a second. So I'm going to mix this up now as well. Let's see if I need to add more to it. But how are you doing, Dream? That's good. Yeah, let's add a little bit of black to both. Okay. So this one I definitely have to mix a little bit more. That's good. Is it easier to see what I'm doing on YouTube when I'm doing this stream, or is it easier on TikTok? Dream, thank you for the comment on TikTok or on YouTube. I appreciate it. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit of black into this. And I'm just going to swirl that into it. So with the silver, it should make almost a Damascus-like swirl, which I don't know if you can actually see it. We kind of got the effect on it. It's more so on the top layer. And with the blue, it just increased certain aspects of it to give a blue shimmer or to give a black swirl, which I love. So we're going to use this mold. This is my go-to silver mold, I've noticed. Anything that's like silver, I typically use this. I appreciate all the shares, Dragon. Yeah, I know quality's worse over on YouTube. I got to figure out a new... First, I was trying to figure out who was here. I was like, is that my dad or is that my father-in-law? It's my father-in-law. So, these are the colors we're going to use. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this still. I'm going to try to prop you guys up that are on TikTok. I know it's going to be a weird view, but I'm going to prop you up right there for a second. Just so you can see the pour. The pour is the important part. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a sec. So this is the only dye that I have a blowout right on the tip. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get that to float as low as possible. Okay. Oh.
With his name at the bottom.
Yeah, I heard your dad up here.
He wasn't up here. He was downstairs.
Oh.
But yeah, has his name on the bottom too.
So for those of you that are in dice making, yes, this is similar to a dirty pour. And the only thing I'm going to do a little bit different, I'll have to wait to see. Okay. So wipe some of that off on there. I'm going to try to move some of this into the voids before I hit it down, just to see what we got working with. Okay, so I'm going to hit that down a few times. Now, for those joining, I do apologize for the angle, but thank you for joining us as well. Okay. There we go on that. Gonna try to move that over a little bit. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour. I'm gonna start right here. I'm just gonna pour that in right there. Try to get as much of that blue in there as I can before I pour the silver in. Right here over. Oh, that black is coming out perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to see on that. Okay. Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure I get every last drop out that I can. So now I've let these both degas for a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get our heat gun out. I'm just going to do a quick one over of every dice. Do a quick run over of this. And don't worry, I'm going to do a quick run over of the dice box once that is ready. Okay. So I was using this today to hold this down, and it worked. The issue is, I think now it's too light. Because now I'm going to have to keep turning it, so I got to find something to squeeze out as much as I can. Okay. Oh, my son. Oh, of course, he's got to be silly today. Okay. So now I'm going to just hit that dice box real quick with my heat gun. Now that's going to take 7 to 8 hours. To mold and everything like that. Once again, thank you everybody who has joined us. I'll be right back. I just have to wash my hands real quick because I got some resin on them. Okay. I'm back. Now let's get to this demold because this should be ready to demold on this one. Might give it a few more It's actually on the dice itself because, well, I'm trying to keep that D4 from snapping. So what ends up happening is sometimes you get this thin, gooey resin. And what that tells you is that it's not done curing. So that's what I was saying earlier is I would not trust the... Where did I get that blue from? This was on the top of the lid. But that's where you get this like almost thin layer of super, not sticky, but not hard, almost like a gummy substance. And with this one, I already see one issue. We have a blowout on our D4, which is sad because this is one I was really hoping to get out. We have a potential blowout. Nope. So that did the trick. So this is both sad and exciting at the same time. So we got a blowout on the D4 right there. That's no bueno. But all of our corners are actually molded perfectly. So that's a plus. All this tells me is I need to redo that D4, and this set would be good for sale. But what I'm doing is I'm also making just a miscellaneous bag of those that passed the first few before I could get it. And why is it still all blue? Give me 1 second. Let me go rewash my hands. I don't know what's going on. Okay, hopefully that's better. Sometimes this stuff is super tacky. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep all the other dice within the mold while... Oh, that's where I got that blue from. Okay. So apparently when I put it down, I laid it right on top of the spillage of the blue. As you can hear, my son is being very bossy and demanding today. So what we're doing is we're just trying to get as much of the flash off as we can right now on all the other pieces that we can see right off the bat don't have any defects, which is going to be the D20, the D12, and the percentile. Those ones for sure do not have defects. The D1 on here had a blowout right in the center. You can see it right there. And then same with the D1 or the one on this D8. So these ones are all imperfections. I'm probably going to do a box of imperfection dice because, for example, this one where the D1 on the D or the one on the D4 had blood on the sides. So we're gonna wait on that. Sorry about that. Little man, the room is a mess right now. So these other four, so far, I'm not seeing any imperfections. There's some small ones, but honestly, those are more fixable. So these, like for instance, on the 0 there's a little bit. But so far, I mean, this was a similar pour style that we just did. In fact, I think I did everything the exact same minus massaging the D4. I don't think I massaged it. Oh, there's another imperfection on the D6. Right on that four face. Same with the D5. So this might just be a blowout set. So far, the D12 is the best looking that we have. There's one on the 4 face again, right in that center. So I'm wondering if it's how I mixed it. Very well could be, or I just did not give it enough time to rest before I put the lid on. D10 as well has, or the 10 as well has a little bit on it. So far we haven't had a single dice without an imperfection. Out of this set. And there's a blowout on the D12 right at the bottom. That'd be the top though. That's a weird blowout. Right there. That tip right there is what blew out. We have another one over here. So it's like that whole face that was sitting on had a blowout on each corner. All in all, very pretty set. I am going to let these just sit out and chill for probably about a day because they are super tacky still. Before I start messing with them, trying to see if I can't patch any of those imperfections. The dice box is still not ready. I can tell that much just by feeling it. My hands are still so tacky. Let me be right back. Okay, I am back. I do apologize for that. Cam, thank you for joining us. We just unmolded this set. So far, this set had imperfections on every single die. I do like the colors, though. This was made with a similar pour style that we're doing right now, or did right now, where we took one of our measuring cups, mixed it with one color, did another mix with another color and a separate color, or separate cup, and just saw what it did. I really like the mixture. I like how sometimes you can see that it's like definitely supposed to be green. Sometimes you can definitely see the red. If I was to redo this, I would definitely do a darker green or try to do a darker red. I think part of the issue with this set is I just poured it today. It didn't have a lot of time to sit there. Because this resin says 8 hours. I rushed this one and I just pulled it. That could definitely be an issue of why it didn't cure properly. That's definitely an issue of why I didn't cure properly, but the blowouts, I gotta figure out why I have a blowout on every single die. And it's not each face being the same. Because I've looked on the others made with that mold, and I'm not seeing a blowout from that mold on the other faces. Or on the similar faces for that. So I'm wondering if that might just be how that is. But I promised some inking. So we're going to ink this set right here. Now this set, there's some imperfections. There's some blowouts. The whole thing just didn't turn out good. Once again, I'm not using a pressure pot. If I had a pressure pot, these dice would look so much better. So I recommend, if you can afford one, get one. If you can't afford a pressure pot, I'm right there with you. I understand. And just know that eventually you will want to upgrade to a pressure pot. With a pressure pot, you have a better chance of getting all the bubbles out. You have a better chance at making sure that everything is sound. I mean, we're already seeing a big improvement on these because this is the same die, same mold. We're seeing an improvement, and it does fluctuate because this is the same mold right here. What's wrong with this one? I think was this the D12? Yeah, I think the D12 was the only one that didn't have any imperfection. Oh no, the 4. So let's find the 4 on here. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this 4, right there, you can see that imperfection in the center. But if you look at that 4, it's there, but so are many others. And we got a better chance at getting the imperfection out of this one than we did this one. Because we can sand that down. The issue is, I don't know if that one can be salvaged with how deep that is. Whereas, where's that one? If I were to try sanding that blowout out right there, I would lose that much face. about, I see, a quarter inch of dye, just trying to save one face. It wouldn't make sense. But let's get to some. Let's get to some inking. I'm thinking for this set right here, we go old school blue. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my paint, taking an old paintbrush, just taking on the inside there. That does look good. I wasn't sure if this blue would be a good fit for it or not. Now, anything with a defect, I'm still going to ink. One, it helps me practice. Two, it allows me to see where I may have future imperfections. Okay, so here is the D4. All inked up. And yes, I literally just took my hand, put it in some water, or I just took my brush, put some paint on it, and whatever paint I got on the brush, I literally just put in water to try to get it cleaned off. It's that simple. Now, I've seen people say ink after you sand it down. I've seen people say ink before. I think it's more of a preference. Personally, if I think that it would save the dye, I would ink before. I have to sand down anything. Like if I can think that I'm able to salvage it. And there's our D6. Like I said, there hasn't been one set of dice that I have not had a blown out on yet. But I'm just starting off with dice making. I expect a blowout from time to time. Peace, loving hippie. Thank you for joining us. But I hope that this this dice and the sword turn out pretty good. I'm hoping to get my first set without any blowouts. And if there is a blowout, that it's small enough to actually fight off. So when you're inking dice, a lot of people try to trace the number. What I do is I trace the number, but I still go around it. Because when you pull back, you're going to get some of that paint in there, in that crevice, to ink it. So there's another blowout right there on the one. So I think this dice set that I've got, that we made today, just a few moments ago, I think I'm going to wait for it to get completely cured. So we might see it tomorrow. We might see it the night after. We're not sure yet. So we have okay. And here we have the D12. There's another blowout right on the tip of that 6. There's some of these blowouts I could probably get with a grinder, but others it's like there's no way it's digging too far into the actual number. like that one on the 4. I'll probably do black for the one that we just did. That'll probably be the inking that we do for it. And my child has lost his mind. John Sater, thank you for joining us. But there's the D12. So now we're going on to the percentile. So once we get this all figured out, we've already got price points picked out. So we're going to be selling the dice at $7 a piece. Now, once we get this all pinpointed it down to how to do it with minimal errors, because honestly, a bubble on the inside, not too worried about. A bubble on the outside, a little bit more worried about. What I want to do once we get everything pinpointed down is with our miniature painting commissions, we will offer a free set of dies with a commission. So that could either be a $30 or $37 price tag, or it could be a $17 price tag. The only requirement is it has to be a D&D figure, because the color scheme of the dice is going to match that figure. So if you give me a figure and you say you want his main color to be blue, okay, I got you there. Then you tell me, but I want his armor to be silver. Well, we could do something like this. Or like what we're doing right now with the mixture. But yes, once we get all of the minor imperfections resolved. Hey. Out, bud. Now, Daddy's working. Hey. Oh, you playing with your cat? Okay, go play.
No.
Ow. But yes, once we get everything narrowed down, and of course, if you're wanting any of the dice that you've seen on today's live, we might do a discount sale. There's only 3 with boxes right now, and 2 of them are not for sale. The other 2 could be for sale. It really just depends. The reason why they're not for sale is one is my son's for his first D&D set, and then the other is my wife's. There we go. Now we're down to the D20. The final stretch. And we are getting hopefully we can start selling here in the next few months or even weeks. I'm hoping by the end of the week. At most, I would need to get more resin, of course. But that's not that hard to get. Alan, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today? Wizard of Id, thank you for joining us. Yes, we are starting dice making. Starting our dice making journey, I should say. These are some defects we're just practicing inking on. We made a set earlier on tonight's live. And of course, our main focus is still miniature painting, which this still entails some level of miniature painting because you got to ink the dice. So these dice were all defective. There's defects on them, such as right there on the tip. That's really the only one on this D20 that I saw. Oh no, right there on the 7 face. So these either had blowouts or they just weren't properly made. So we are inking them. Our main projects we do here is miniature painting, such as that tumbling. I'm not sure what you mean by tumbling. No, we actually made these dies. We don't have a pressure pot, so all of our stuff is handmade without it. So, like, this was the mold that we used on our last set. That's got a few blowouts. The D4 was the worst of that one. D4 had a huge chunk already taken out of it. Yeah, resin cast. Yep, all of my stuff is resin casted. Though I can see why you would think that, because that does look like stone. I didn't realize that until after you mentioned that. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that does look like stone. But these all have defects. We're just starting off with making dice. Nope, that is resin casted. Everything here is resin casted. Sorry, I'm trying to get some water on my hands to clean them real quick. For example, here's the box for that set that I just showed off. Still curing a little bit longer because I didn't like how flimsy it was. And then right here, well, really the only thing I need to know, which I pretty much learned on YouTube already, because this isn't my first rodeo with going into it. It's just the first time of making it. Models and Games, thank you for joining. 500 G of TSR D20s. I can make some D20s. Can't guarantee they're going to be TSR D20s. But which orange you want? Now I know the D20 you're talking about. The main thing we do on this channel is miniature painting. For example, our diorama that we are currently working on, right there. Everything is painted besides the hero figures that we still have left to do. We are in the middle of painting this one. Now, all the hero figures have non-metal metallic bits. So I didn't feel like using metallic paint, so they get metallic, or they get non-metal metallic painting done to them. All we have left is on this guy is the blades, and he'll be good to go. And we're just kind of aluminum. Yeah, now that'd be hard. No, I literally went Amazon. $8. You get a full set. The only thing that's hard for me right now is trying to get non-imperfections and non-blowouts. For example, this was our D4s before I started to actually squeeze them together. You can see it's chipped at the top there. Without a pressure pot, oh, I know I got this. Without a pressure pot, we are getting some good examples. We are getting some defects. D4 there that just randomly blew out. Really, it's the fact that we don't have a pressure pot. That's the issue. Once we can afford a pressure pot, because those are expensive, we would definitely be able to go further into it. Right now, this is the two colors we are working on. Not vacuum. You do not want to use vacuum on resin. You want to specifically use a pressure pot. Everyone says use a vacuum for cheap resin. However, you have to double the volume at that point, and then the inside is nothing but a mess of resin. Yes. Because you have to leave it when you use a vacuum. Because I watched Ryo Batar do this on his vacuum seal is good for or vacuum. Yeah, vacuum sealer is good for vacuum chamber is good for silicone, but not for the resin, because the resin will just continuously rise and flow over. Whereas with a pressure pot, it'll rise and then settle back down. Whereas until you take that vacuum out, that pressure is just going to, or that vacuum is just going to continuously rise. Yeah, I mean, there's an easy way to make one. I think the guy said it was like $10. There is a Harbor Freight near me. The Harbor Freight vacuum or the Harbor Freight pressure pot, $100. I've already priced it. So I mean, it's not that it's. Are you talking about making your own? I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. I'm looking into as well. Is potentially making my own out of a 10-gallon bucket. The only thing I would need then would be the funds for the air compressor, which is a lot cheaper than the well, I was gonna say just get a bucket and a bike pump. It's really all you need. Duck 3D, thank you for joining us. But with that, I am going to call it here tonight, guys. Thank you all for joining us. What I'm going to do first is, because I've learned a thing or two with this specific mold. This specific mold does require it to be popped out to solidify better. And this is the dice box we have for these dice over here. Yeah, feel free to check it out. We are going to be doing a sale, Wiz, of for every D&D miniature we get going on our first once we actually start selling dice and dice boxes. Every miniature sale for a D&D specific figure, specifically D&D. That's for your hero. Like, you could sit there and buy a Hero Forge figure, mail it to me, and say, "Hey, I want this painted up at your $30 level." I'm like, "Okay, I'll paint it up. I'll get the specifications that you want, such as the color of the blade, the armor, everything like that. but I'll specifically ask what's the primary and secondary colors that you have for it. And then I will make a set of dice with it. Oh no, I gotta hear what this figure is now. What you make? What kind of character you running over there, Wiz? Auroch Draconian. I've never heard of that. Is that a homebrew? Or is that something from 24? Oh, yeah, they ain't making that no more. Closest you're gonna get is a Dragonborn. They didn't even. That was one thing people were shocked about when they brought back several Dragonlance races for 5e was that no Draconians were added. But with that being said and done, we are going to call it here. If you like what you see, please like and follow us for more. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and ask away. With that being said and done, we are going to end the live here right now. I'm just making sure that my dice that we made today have no gaps in between them and that they're looking good. But thank you, everyone. Have a great day. I will see you later. Bye-bye.